Good morning. How's everyone doing out there in internet land? I think I have everything toggled correctly, or at least the way that I think it should be toggled. I had to do some wrestling and finagling with audio and video, and all the things that you're supposed to do when you do a live stream. It gets a little more complex the more complex that the scene gets. But as you can see, I'm joined by an individual who works for Bambu Lab. His name is Key. And he doesn't have an official title because, much like in a startup environment, you wear many hats. This is something I'm very familiar with. I've been doing things for the longest time, and I don't even think I have a title. So I'm with you there, Key. No title. We're a part of the No Title Club.
Yeah, good morning, Grace, and good morning, everyone, for joining the channels. And my name is Kay, and I work for Bambu Lab in Austin, Texas. We provide all the U.S. domestic service to all the peoples here in the United States.
And I'm very glad to have met you. And certainly we've had a few conversations about the setup and everything. I've okay, so to set the stage, I was introduced vicariously by way of Nerdy J from Hot Makes, right? He was printing with the X1 Carbon. He'd done an interview with you, and then he was printing with it on MakerDeck. And it was
Yeah.
so exciting to see him. Like, everyone was just blown away by how fast it was just whipping around. It was like, phew, 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 phew. People thought it was a time lapse. And I mean, I can see why. It definitely moves fast. So I was definitely interested in what it was that you were doing, though I was also very cautious because as you very well know, and you've been through this part of the conversation before, you've produced these printers, X1 and X1 Carbon, this initial series. This is what, the seventh iteration of the device that's going to be going into production, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So we have maybe six previous models and the prototypes being designed and upgrading and iterating like each by each. Because I think the first design still get a maybe frame structure with core XY, the cameras, the lidars, everything is get to be designed. But later on, so we upgrading each features step by steps. And then we push the hardwares to look at this in the family. So.
That is good to know because in context, a startup might just release the device and put it out to the world, but you took a different approach with it, and an approach that many other companies have taken. And unfortunately, you have to carry that baggage. Launching on Kickstarter, what was I know people are concerned about anything, myself included, any tech that's launched on Kickstarter. What was your reasoning behind going the Kickstarter route versus a more traditional route? Why go Kickstarter?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I just want using these channels to explain the why to the audience. The first, so there are two main reasons why we're using the Kickstarters. Like the first reason is like the we are just trying to. So this is kind of like company milestone stuff. Like the people like always thinking to launch new tags through the Kickstarter or Indiegogo channels. So we prepared for the launching for a long time ago. So the marketing team and the maybe advertisement team spent a lot of time to prepare for that. So that's one reason. So another reason is so we still have some software issues and still debugging and trying to finalize the product. So we need a month to get it ready. So I think also, but before we officially set up the sales to the Amazons and to our web stores, we need some kind of warm up with the market. Because like our production line is designed to be a massive production line. So if the production lines cannot be sold as many products as we want, so we are losing money. So that's a reason we probably using the Kickstarter to warm up the market and to let people know and pre-sell the units. So that way, like after maybe 1 month later, and our manufacturing has been set up. So at that time, so I think so as the production line is running at 100% speed, so that kind of good advantages and maybe the money marketing for our product. So
Well,
that's our strategies.
it seemed to work because honestly, before I even saw Nerdy J printing I watched the entire interview that you did with it must have been your CEO as well with on Hot Makes, yes. I watched the entire interview. It was kind of fun to look behind the scenes and see what was going on. I mean, you got a full. This isn't just to set it apart. This is something that is what I'm using right here in this video in the corner. That's mine. That this is my the unit that you sent to me to test as a normal user, as someone who knows how to push a button. That's production unit. This is not something where you're talking about you might be doing something, or this is your plans on doing something. You've actually accomplished what you've put out, or at least from what I can tell, you've accomplished like your marketing points, right? Your bullet points. You've accomplished the speeds. You've accomplished, how this thing is aimed to be simple to operate from your smartphone or for your desktop. You've accomplished these things. These are not things that haven't been done. You've done it, correct?
Yeah, correct. But to be honest, I think we are still like maybe 90% achieved our goals. So there's some kind of software issues, and also we are lacking of supporting materials to the customer using a user guide or something. But I think for the most of the hardware part is almost done. So the final product will look like exactly like this and yours, and so that they're the same. So they're all coming from the production lines. So we don't do some kind of special editions and to handmade and send the machines to someone to special. So everything is get done with this one. But the software side is pretty quick and pretty easy to upgrade. Like you buying the Tesla cars, you need to do the upgradation every day, so all the time. So that's the reasons we can keep improving the performance by the upgrading the softwares in the future.
I'm more of between a hardware guy and a software guy. I'm definitely more of a software guy. Like I look at the software and like how fluid is it? How clean is it? You've got the foundations, and it's still pre-production for the software side of things. But you've noted, hey, we're iterating, we're improving. I got to be clear. I ran into a network problem, but the cool thing is, not just the entire team that I was able to communicate with was communicative back. They are communicative in return. They were able to troubleshoot and resolve the problem for me, which means that every other customer would also know, okay, if this is the problem, okay, we could fix it. Other people could be aware of it. And so I'm glad to have stumbled upon that. And more importantly, I'm glad you responded the way that you did. And that, I think, speaks volumes. You're not just nameless, faceless people in the middle of nowhere. You doubled down and worked to resolve the problem so that I could continue to print. So I just wanted to thank you and the team, Key, for doing that.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. Because another operation roles are our companies, just like maybe make the operation people as less as possible. Like the most part of our company is engineers. Engineers also taking care of some kind of customer support roles. We don't want to maybe send the people to this person to that person to make it maybe entire process so long.
Oh man, you got it. That is music to my ears. You know how many times I've had a need to fix something and I've got to go through marketing, or I've got to go through PR, or I've got to go through someone who doesn't understand the problem, right? If I could just get it to the person, look, here's the thing. I'll send you all the log files, give you all the information. The fact that you say that, to me, again, is really good to know. That is as much valuable information as the speed of the machine. So, no, I'm serious. Like, to be able to, and I think a lot of the gearheads out there would also appreciate being able to talk directly to the engineers just to minimize that process. But Key, we do have a question here from Krusty, who's a member of the team. And I do also I have to shout out Nick from Polymaker is in chat as well. That was the big surprise when I loaded up the slicer, and in the printer, Polymaker is a default profile, and I'm like, what? I use that. So that's what I'm printing right now. I'm printing this was done in printed solid, but this is the Wexter Flexi Java at 75%, or actually it's probably 70%. It took over 12 hours to print on the Mini, if I remember, certainly over 10. I'm doing one at 75%. It's going to take about 4 hours on the Carbon, and it just started right around the time that we began the broadcast. So a dramatic difference in time, not just space on the bed, but like that's efficiency in time. If I needed to turn a Java Flexi around, I could, but I'm using the Polymaker Polyterra PLA, which I love. I adore their, and I'm not just saying that because Nick is here. It's just got such a smooth finish. The Polyterra is so smooth. So Krusty asked the question, Bambu is positioned as a global company with team members in both the US, like you, and in China. Where will support be run from? Where's the basis? Where's the foundation for support? Will that be US for US, China for China, country for country, or where will support be based?
Yeah, actually, it's a good questions. From first, let's talk about maybe the global support for the global marketing support. So we have a support team in China. So they most likely focus on maybe some hard problems or some like unseen problems in the happens. And for example, so there are some strange things happens, we need to contact our engineers to find the solutions and find the original source code. But like in the US, so we have a support with maybe engineers as well to maybe helping people to maybe focus on maybe the most of the US parts and for the US customers. But also we also might in the future will help the other branches like the Europe branches or the maybe like Australian marketing to helping them to get their problem resolved. But the Bambu Lab is also there's a few branches like in the future we might set up the Europe branches. But in the future, each branch working as an entire company is not kind of divided by the regions. For example, if the U.S. market is U.S. branch is more advantage, get more advantage in working, like maybe get some marketing development or the public relationship. So I think that the U.S. has more advantage doing that. So we'll move our maybe that kind of business into the U.S. But also in the software development, we're still considering to set up office in San Francisco, so to get some software development in the future.
Makes sense.
We don't just maybe divide the business by the regions. So it's really like maybe a global company to run the business together.
Okay, I think that answers Krusty's question fairly. We've got so many questions coming in, and I'm trying to get to them as quickly as I can. First, quickly, what is your background? Like, what Polymaker Nick from Polymaker asked, like, do you have a background in engineering, or what's your?
Definitely, I get previously, I'm studying the mechanical engineering as a PhD, but later on, my major is fluid mechanics actually. So then I went to San Francisco Bay Area with a startup companies to building the maybe EV cars for a few years. Then I just started my own business with instrument companies in Indiana. And then after I heard about the Bambu Labs recruiting some people gonna lead their US team, and once I come back and take a look, just like most people see the first time Benchy, I said, oh yeah, so that's great opportunities, and I will take this job.
You can be you can take this wherever you want to take it. I've never really wanted to print a Benchy. It was a joke, and one of our mods, who's an amazing designer, Fix'em Dude is his handle. Really nice guy. Like all the mods we have here are amazing. He made I don't like the marshmallow Peeps candy. I don't know I can't stand them. So he put a little Peeps on a Benchy and released it at Easter. So I printed that one, and then my second Benchy was the 16 or 17 minute Benchy on the X1 Carbon. So you can be proud of that. We've got so the Benchy definitely prints fast. Expanding, and it's true, like you're seeing it happen in real time here. Expanding in chat is asking, and I think I can answer this one: is firmware going to be OTA, over the air, or USB driven? I can answer this because I needed to update my firmware, and I could have done it by way of the micro SD card. But we tried to work through the way to get the network, to get the device online. It was seamless. I booted up and it flashed, so it was over the air. Like I don't know if it was supposed to be that seamless, but I literally turned on the machine and then I didn't have it in the SD card or anything. It knew that there was an updated firmware available, grabbed it, and was off to the races. So it's over the air. Seamless.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Later on, so like after the printers connected to the cloud, actually, so we just send a command to maybe from the machine's control screens or even cell phones to get the signals to obtain the most recent firmware from online. So then the machine will do the firmware update itself.
It was seamless. I'll say this. It was about the easiest way I've ever updated firmware. And honestly, USB, not that bad, pretty simple. But just turning on the machine and then it knew, it was seamless expanding. The Midnight Smith has a question. What type of stepper drivers are running this machine, and are they replaceable, or will a new board be needed? Stepper drivers.
Yeah, actually, so we designed the firmware with maybe stepper drivers ourselves. Everything's right into our own PCB and our own logic, maybe firmware design. So, but like maybe if something wrong with the steppers, it's just like maybe 42 step drivers, and so I can maybe show the specific details with that later on. But we haven't spotted any issues with a stepper driver falling down so far, so that's not going to be a problem, because like the parts we are using is pretty reliable, I think, for the maybe hardware side. Yeah.
Okay, so on that front, and if you need to ask a follow-up question in the Midnight Smith, please do. If that doesn't answer your question as what you were thinking. Hollywood in 3D asks, how readily available or accessible will replacement hardware be if a malfunction occurs? So replacements, where are they coming from? How long might it take?
Actually, it depends on what parts going to fail, but later on, based on our maybe durability test, we haven't find any maybe besides some parts like maybe the hot end or maybe printing bad films, those kind of things, or some USB connection cables, probably have some fatigues and get going down for a while. But later on, so I think our maybe structure design, like the motors and maybe the PCB board and the rest of the machine controls and the cameras, lidars, is pretty reliable. And so if it's gonna fail, we probably will send a replacement to the new replacement during the warranty period.
Okay, and the warranty period is how long?
Yeah, the general warranty is 1 year. So just like get the same maybe policies to compare to other brands. Because like if we set up the 2 years, probably so we'll change the entire rules for the industry. So we just keep the 1 year for now, and we'll see what's going on. Because like so we haven't probably maybe existing for one more year, so we don't know what's going on there. So we'll say that depends.
So I know that, and the kit comes with, you've got a bed, right? It's a cool bed, I guess is what it's called. Remember, I'm a 3D printing noob, but I could get it to work. It's actually a sticker that you apply. I haven't tried it yet. I'm a little worried about, I don't even like Lego stickers. I don't know how often that needs to be replaced or how easy it is to be replaced, or will you sell just the metal underneath and the sticker automatically placed on top? Will that be an option to buy so that you don't have to reapply the sticker if you're really bad at applying stickers?
Yeah, definitely. So those parts will both be available from the Amazons or our web stores. Yeah.
Great. So we've got another question here. Zombie Hedgehog. How do the bed leveling or the pressure advance hardware work?
Yeah. So there are maybe two ways for our main the bed leveling process. So once we have maybe piezoelectronic devices, ceramic devices on each of the maybe support beams. So there's 3 sensors at the total. So once it's do the bouncing around, so it will have some dynamic signals with how based on maybe the weight of the heat bed. So there are no the sensor gonna touch. So that's using the bed to touch the nozzles, and we'll get the feedback signals from the back. So that's the first way. Also, the second way is, and we're using the LiDARs to do the side projection like lasers. So once there's angle with a side projection to the bed, so there's a line, once like maybe the heat bed is going up and down, so the maybe projection line is going to the left and the right. So based on the difference, so in that kind of process, we will know how far the so how far the bed is going to be. So that one is more useful for the bed levelings.
Okay.
So there's two ways.
And that also includes the pressure advance hardware? Like, is that...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just kind of maybe piezoelectric get maybe pressure signals versus maybe the current signals.
Okay. The Midnight Smith, just his question specifically, and if you can answer this, because I think you said you've made your own, but what type of stepper drivers are running this machine, and are they replaceable, or will a new board be needed? Like, do you...
Yeah, but actually we write down our maybe motor stepper drivers into our own PC, our own machine control board. You'll probably say if something wrong with stepper drivers, the entire PCB probably going to be replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that I can change filaments. That's where my expertise begins and ends. And hopefully that puts a finer point on the answer there, the Midnight Smith. Polymaker is asking when the project began, wondering how long it would take to develop such a printer. And I do believe, just because we didn't really mention this, part of the team at Bambu Lab came out of DJI. Working on the Mavic, if I'm not mistaken, the drone. So they're no strangers to consumer electronic devices, polished products, etc. But when did the project begin? How long did this take to get here?
So for you mean for the shapings or for the deliveries?
It's like for from beginning to end, from first prototype to plan, the layout, to the first prototype to what we have today.
So like our company is established on, I think so late Q3 on 2020. So only maybe 1.5 years to get machines built like this. Yeah.
Okay, that I figured you're gonna say 7 years or something, because dang, dude,
that's pretty quick.
Yeah, I would say. Now on that, Zombie Hedgehog asked this, and I think you've given credit to the another project, but he's asking how much inspiration was taken from the Voron project.
Oh, that's a good question. I think so. The Voron's designs, I had to spend some time on this one. So I think like the Voron's team is pretty know what's going on with the 3D printers. They know everything. So what's going on. So how to make the fast print with no maybe compromise. And so we definitely see their designs and our build of Vorons, include myself. I just spend some time to build in Vorons myself sometime. And then I think like some thoughts might be in commons and from the common design from the Voron designs and on our product. So, but later on we may keep optimize with some add some new technology feature like LiDARs and some piezoelectronic sensors, and also more advanced maybe program controls and maybe that kind of features into the structured designs. So, but I think probably someone has a same thought and to go into this project in different approach. So there's
yeah, sorry, not to talk over you. I know that I saw some people saying, well, you might as well get a Voron, but someone replied and said, yeah, but the average person is never going to be able to build a Voron, right? It's just beyond. In fact, I joked about it. Papa Bear, who may not be here right now, another mod, another fantastic streamer, really nice guy. I tend to know nice people. That's my whole thing. The not nice people are like outside my orbit. So the whole thought process behind him building a Voron, he explained it. But I called myself a Voron moron, because I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to get that power. So I appreciate the fact that you're able to build, and work with what's already out there in all the right ways, and give people like me that kind of power without needing to build a Voron.
Yeah, I see. So there's, as I said, so there's a different approach from the Voron designs and our printers. So Voron is for the people who maybe like the structure and how to make something, like how to make the 3D printer works from the draft. So that's their part. So they're fan of hobbies. But our ways is to just using the printer to print the product, like more kind of maybe art designs or some parts. So yeah, that's what I think. But yeah, so like I just myself, I really enjoy building the model myself. Actually, I spend a lot of time to figure out the menus and figure out how the structure kind of works. It really helps for us to build the printers. But not most of people can spend that time to doing that approach, and most people we really want to just use the printer as a maybe office printer to print papers.
It makes sense, and that's where I am. I mean, I say this over and over again. Even in 3D printing, I'm like, I was cautious about getting a second printer because of like, A, where am I going to put it? B, how is it going to benefit me? How is this better? Like, how does this? What does it improve? Like, how does it help? And you ended up checking a lot of those boxes, like just on the surface, like the speed, the multiple filament, the ease of use, everything that you've got in this first iteration of a product, the X1 Carbon at least, is exactly what, including built-in spaghetti detection, which I haven't needed yet. I'm grateful for. I've got another question though from Krusty. Have you already gotten CE, UL, and FCC certification? And if
Yes,
not,
definitely we will.
you're
We
going.
already have.
You have them?
Yeah, so that's a basic thing for the companies that want
Yes.
to sell their product overseas for the global. So I think so that's necessary steps for all the companies who design to do that. So that for the DJI building drones, yeah, if they cannot get FCC, so it's pretty stupid. So that can go that far.
So you've got all the certifications, including on this production machine has got the certification.
I will double check with the team like how far so there goes on these steps because like yeah I will so there's only so few engineers taking care of that applications but I know so they already did that but how it goes like if there anything is not to be approved yet I will double check.
Yeah, no, I'd appreciate that, and it's a really good question, and you answered that correctly, by the way. Like it's a very important thing if you want to sell these printers. Polymaker asks, and this is Nick again. During the color changing, why have you decided to cut the filament before retracting it to the AMS? How does that compare to the regular MMU, having the cutting system as an additional investment? So why did you go that route versus another route?
Yeah, that's a good question, but it should be jump back to our maybe hot end designs. Our hot end design get maybe the nozzle and the heat sink as a one pieces part. But so so there's a titanium tube for along from the yeah I can probably show here. So can you see these
Yes,
parts
yes.
with our maybe nozzles and heatsink? So there's the entire pieces over here. Cause like so this part cannot be maybe put a cutter inside. So like maybe the easiest way is to cutting from the above of the heatsink. So once we cut it the pieces, so there's still some kind of filament remaining inside of the titanium tube. So we need to use a new filament to extrude. So this like the region of the filament out to get maybe the color purging.
Okay, and I think that's as good as an explanation as any. I was curious too because it yeets out. I haven't done a lot. I'm looking for really good, like multicolor models that I can use, and I think the slicer. I've got maybe I have some feedback because there's some models that I can't really split into parts, but I want to color certain sections in the slicer. Like paint. Like I press a little button and then it fills that area with one color or another. That maybe a feature I haven't seen yet, or maybe coming in the slicer for multicolor prints.
Yeah, actually, so you can be using the current maybe testing version of the slicer to the multicolor print. So, but so we're still working on the instructions or tutorial stuff, and to help more people to get used to how to play with that.
I've been able to do it by layer. Like I can do it layer by layer, but not necessarily like an individual. I haven't figured. I'm still learning. I know it's possible because I saw Filament Frenzy doing it with his little waterfall thing, and I'm like, wow.
Oh, yeah. So he's pretty professional on multicolor printing. So.
I am not a professional yet. You will be my first multicolor print, apart from manually, having to change the filament. We've got another question, though, from Wired Mesh. What is the reasoning and technical implication of the recirculation fan seemingly only being effective on one part of the bed, or does the duct have fan-out guides?
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. So, like our fan design, we have three main parts for the cooling the Bambu Lab printing while it's done printing. So there's a part cooling fans on the hot end. So they're doing some kind of maybe V-shape wind tunnels to cooling the parts. So that's one part. Another, so we have maybe side acceleration fans to blow some airs from the side, just like.
Oh no!
Underneath the air surface from the left point on the wheels to the right. So that's the second. Another fans, so we have maybe the chamber cooling fans. Once the chamber hit to some kind of the temperatures, so then our cooling fans will extracting the hot airs out to the printers, and it will help another protection to make the chamber temperature as we are desired to be.
Okay, that's as complete an answer as I think anyone could expect. MakerTater has a question. Will a PEI build plate be available in the future? Glue sticks, a contaminant when we get around to recycling unwanted prints back into filament. So a PEI build plate at some point?
But yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure. So what kind of future filament or materials we're gonna to put on our filament, our hot bed designs? Cause so we have lighters. So the lighters need to maybe get some materials be purely like maybe lighter signals of absorption filaments, like maybe the fighter jet or the Raptor jet, that kind of filaments probably in the future. So if we put like some filament or some carbon fiber glass or like maybe the the Creality did, so in that way, so the light signal is going to be bounced back to the lidar, so we cannot get maybe pure signals on that kind of things. But later on, so yeah, we definitely will try different materials, see if that gonna be works on our filament design. But for the glue stick can help. So there's our best currently, the most economy ways that can help people to achieve that goals, but without spending like maybe much on that kind of things.
And that makes, I thought, eventually, I'd imagine you're going to see third-party vendors maybe create a plate for it that would work. Not you, but like someone in the ecosystem say, oh, this plate will work with the Bambu X1 Carbon. Yeah, I'd imagine.
Definitely we will support that. Yeah, we will support. We are not going to limit it with third parties. We can provide a better product to help the Bambu Lab.
Right.
So we really appreciate that third-party vendors actually.
I would say that is the community-friendly way of doing it. The Edge of Tech is here. Nerdy J is here. He says, remember, 80% of their whole team, your whole team, Key, is research and development. So I didn't know that 80%, for real. I missed that stat.
More than 80%, I think.
Wow.
So we have more than 150 engineers. As I mentioned earlier, so our customer support. So so most of the people is from maybe engineer team who just the people design these features who doing the problem resolving at this time.
And by the way, go ahead.
I think so. That's the most efficient way for us to build the community, as to maybe really saving the cost on human labors and to make the most effective ways to do the problem resolving.
It's very efficient. And everything you're doing seemingly is incredibly efficient. Whether you're talking about printing, and time savings, as well as just the foundation or the ethos going into the product to begin with. And of course, there's always going to be a trade-off. And there's no such thing as a perfect anything. There's always going to be a trade-off. But I will say this: there have been at least a couple of people here in chat, including Miller 3D Designs. He can't wait to get his backer 1044. 1044 is here. That's Miller. He's a good guy. He's got a ton of Polymaker filament too. It's ready to go. It'll take, but I will warn you, you'll go through it so fast. I'm serious, man. It flies. You'll go through it so fast.
Yeah, it's to burn the filament pretty fast, and probably you're gonna need more filaments in the future.
But that's good news for companies like Polymaker. Oh, by the way, I am now officially out. Your basic PLA, I love. Your white, the one that you sent the test spool or whatever, I love it. Your filament's also going to be available, right? Your filament, okay. Because it was like I'm out. I'm like, ha! I was trying to do one of the default prints, and then it ran out. I had a problem this morning. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm still learning how to do it, and Key was troubleshooting. I had to run upstairs and downstairs to get it fixed, and the filament, it had stopped. It had run out. I learned how to, basically pull it out. It was really efficient. I mean, it was just as easy as it would be pulling filament out of any printer if it had stopped before the gear. It cut off at the point of the gear. Came out clean, came out efficient. I was able to reload the excess filament, additional filament, which I'm using right now for the Jabba the Hutt Flexi model, and it was off to the races. So it was easy enough for me to ask the question, figure out, okay, what's going on? I'm like, oh, wait, this is the last thing that happened. And I was able to get it done. But you'll fly through the filament. That's the bottom line. You'll go through it fast.
Yeah, but in the future, we just hope we can provide the film materials and some kind of tutorial videos for customers can just watch and learn themselves. So make the jobs more easier. So doesn't need a lot of interactions. It's not means we don't want to help the people to do that.
Yeah.
We just want to provide the better user experiences by some tutorial videos and some guide how to use the printers.
And that's, I mean, it's been easy enough for even when I run into a problem, like what's going on, what do I do, and you've been very calm in explaining everything in terms of the problems that and the steps to go through what needs to be looked at. But it isn't as complex as it could be. So I appreciate that level of doing the thinking for me, so that I don't have to. Python or CPP asks, will we see a Bambu Lab dual head printer?
In the future, we're thinking about that, but so it's not still on our maybe development list yet. But in the future, definitely, so we will develop more kind of different styles of 3D printers. And at this time, so we still want to spend more time to finalize the Bambu X1 series, and in the future, we definitely have more to come in. But yeah.
Okay, and this question might dovetail that answer. And this is from Nick over at Polymaker. Do you consider the X1 as a multi-material printer or only multicolor? If only multicolor, was it designed to handle multi-material in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So that's another good question. So we have maybe poly support, just like using the filament, maybe support filament like the poly support. And yeah, we definitely already did that try. And so some people like the print maybe dissolve or easy break support, and maybe different combination with maybe TPU and with some ABS or PLA, some kind of combinations. But in the future, the thing is, we probably you can use the different materials, but you probably get the maybe same temperature settings on the AMS. It's there's a temperature range, so there's a difference on temperatures. So the machines need to do not only the maybe switch in the filament, also need to heat up and cooling down all the time. Spend a lot of extra times to doing that. So yeah, we definitely will release some kind of suggestion combination with the different materials. But yeah, theoretically, so it supports all the maybe different materials printings at this times. Even maybe the different material is more important than the multicolors printing on our slide. So on these machines.
All right, that's. I think that's a as complete an answer as we could expect. The Midnight Smith asked a question that Jim responded to. Bambu Lab is even though many people had started at DGI, it's a completely different company, completely new company, different, everything stem to stern. Just he was curious because he has a DJI Mavic Pro drone. He enjoys his drone and customer service. And I think the customer service, he was kind of curious about how is the customer service going to compare, not just
so
the hardware.
So you mean in the United States or the entire world? So
Let's say U.S.
Oh yeah, as I mentioned, so I'm still looking for people like probably someone in this channel is gonna be pretty interested in this job. So we're still looking for the technical support people to join in the U.S. companies and to provide like as more support as we can. Also, like we're still finding some people who really likes our printers on the server communities, and to help them to provide some benefit to the maybe helpers and to doing some support to themselves. For example, if you want to maybe in the future, so you can help someone a lot and to do some contribution to the community groups. And if after we see that, we definitely will contact if they provide some benefit or some kind of reward back to the customer. So that's our ways at the beginning stage, and we are trying to build up our customer support team. So it's not only for our support from our company side, also from the entire communities to let people help each other. So that's a way we want to build it in the future.
Well, I don't think anybody was expecting to hear that this morning, but that's you never know. There may be a technical engineer out there, or someone that's interested in that kind of thing that may be applying. So, thank you for putting that out there. That I did not know. Feisty Kitty, by the way, is another backer who's watching. She came along. I guess we connected recently. I saw one of her prints on Twitter. I thought it was hilarious. And she started following over here, and then I think she backed the project just the other day. Well, I think everyone did. Like, you've been out on Kickstarter for a little over a week now. About a week.
6 days. Yeah.
6 days. Okay, almost a week.
2 Tuesdays. Yeah.
Wow. So Zombie Hedgehog asks, we all know the X1 can print fast, but are there any downsides to that? Is it recommended to always push high accelerations, or will the system wear fast?
Actually, our standard standard speed on standard settings is acceleration is 10,000 millimeter per second square. So that's our standard acceleration. So under that setting, so we can guarantee the qualities. So there's no maybe quality compromise on the acceleration and setting up at that speed. But also with some maybe overhang, some tricky parts, so there's no problems printing that fast. But if you jump to the maybe sports or ludicrous mode, so the acceleration can be reached to the 20,000 at that time. So that is 2G accelerations compared to the entire things. But yeah, if you print some maybe very easy structures, maybe squares or round or the beam or some that kind of things, so there's no problem to handle the acceleration part like that. But if some maybe complex or overhangs area, so we definitely recommend to lower the acceleration back to the standard at that moment. So the standard is guaranteed.
So and I'm probably just gonna go with whatever your defaults are. I don't push my hardware. I'm like, dude, whatever's gonna be safe, easy, clean, quick. And so far, it's worked like a champ. We've already got some people. The Midnight Smiths asks, where does my resume go? They're asking. So we may have to put you in touch after the show, for sure. And by the way, you can follow Key on Twitter. I tweeted, if you look at the tweets that went out from, or I accelerated from the MakerDeck account, and on my personal account, I linked to Key's account on Twitter. So
thanks.
Thanks, no problem. And then I'm sure one of the mods or someone else could drop your Twitter handle here in chat. Happy to do it.
I'll bring my LinkedIn profile to here as well. So
okay, yeah, there you go. That's a good way of connecting on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
So Are there any? Okay, Zombie Hedgehog asked this. Are there any potential plans to build a smaller or a cheaper version of this printer?
Yeah, it's on our maybe future development list. But at the time, as I said, we're still working on finalizing the X1. So after the X1s get done, part of the engineer is going to have the support people for a while. After maybe the US maybe support lines team is built up and maybe is well trained. So the engineers gonna do definitely to jump to the next project, either the bigger ones or smaller ones. Depends on the list or the maybe
Okay.
CEO stuff. So that
Oh,
kind of things.
all right. And to dovetail that, Hollywood asks, will future printer revisions be launched on Kickstarter as well? Or was this
No,
a one-time thing? Okay, just not, this is a
yeah,
one-time thing.
actually, so for my personal, so this opinion is not represent to the companies. For my personal views, I think that so there's no need for the Kickstarter at all. So we spend a lot of times and to prepare for the Kickstarter and turn out to be a waste, I think. Yeah, if
Wow.
we just like want to maybe build the printers and we send the test machines out and to get maybe then so we can set up the maybe our official website and later probably sometime later, but without Kickstarter. Also, like the Kickstarter also lose some profit on our product
Right,
as well.
right.
Yeah. Mm. We don't
Wow.
actually need the money to manufacture that kind of things, just kind of warm you up.
Well, it definitely got a lot of attention. So, however you did it, it happened. That's interesting insight, though, as to you believing that you didn't need it. And honestly, like I said, if I've got a production unit, machined here, and it's not, I mean, they start shipping in July, correct? So less than a month.
No, no. I think so. After the Kickstarter ends, we will prepare the shipping for
Okay.
the
Okay.
Kickstarter campaign backers first. So after every printer is gonna shipped out and people receive that, and but we will turn on our official website with maybe our Amazon stores at the same time. So there's a rules on the Kickstarter. So people are gonna do maybe like we cannot launch our official website or sales before the Kickstarter ends. So that's a maybe rules
Right.
on Kickstarter. So we need
Right.
to follow that rules to we cannot do that kind of things
That,
in advance.
that makes sense. Feisty Kitty, who's going to be one of your customers, joined late, so it might have already been asked. She asks, for printing things like ABS, is the carbon filter enough, or will it need to have exhaust vented somehow?
Yeah, actually, so we have maybe a carbon fiber filters on the back of the machines, but sometimes, so if you open the lid at the during the mid of printing, so also there's some kind of gap between the panels or glass panels, so there's some kind of maybe plastic smells leaking a little bit. But I think so for the most of the fans, it's gonna be maybe the most of the air is being extruded is passing through the filters. So it helps somehow, but I don't think so it cannot be completely absorbed.
And since they are filters, how often and how easy are those to replace?
The replacements quite easy, but the durations, how long you need to change the filters, it just really depends on yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Polymaker asks, would you say there's a large market, or sorry, a large market target overlap between the X1 Carbon and the Anchor Make M5? These are two projects that I do believe have both launched on Kickstarter roughly the same time, bragging about speed, being, new entrants in the 3D printing space. Is there a market target overlap between what they're planning on doing and what you're doing?
Oh yeah, that's another good question. So a lot of people asking our to some apple to apple comparison to the maybe Anchor M5. The first, yeah, we launched this project before we know the Anchor exists. So I think so. Once our maybe six of the iterations has been done with maybe the prototypes already built, and then the Anchor launched their Kickstarter project. Yeah. Also, like the second things we don't know. So, cause like Anchor released some kind of technical data, but we haven't get some kind of reviews and or some kind of official testing on the Anchor machines. So we don't know what's going on in the
Right.
future. So it's gonna be like. But yeah, our side. So we are just targeting for the people who want to upgrade their i3 machines to a higher trim and get it more professional. So that's a ways we're doing the things. And the thing is like we don't set up any competitor at this time. We just want to try to do ourselves, try our best for the customers who want to upgrade their machines to provide the best machine as much as possible. So these are our current plans.
I mentioned this. I've got a Prusa Mini. It sits on my desk. It's small enough to sit on my desk. It's the X1 Carbon is a little large because of the enclosure and everything and what it is. So it could not fit where I'm sitting right here, not with any degree of ease. But the way I explain it is like, look, the Prusa Mini it does this at this budget level, and the X1 Carbon does this at this budget level. So the two can coexist, right? They're two different target markets, two completely different target markets, and they're not like there's no overlap, right? You can't like someone said, "Oh, do a speed test." I'm like, "Why? One's this kind of this class of machine, and the other's this class of machine," and that's not saying one is better than the other. I use my Prusa Mini every day and I love it, right? It doesn't mean it's better. It just does something different for different reasons.
Yeah. So each printer has their own applications. So
That's right.
it just depends on whether you choose what we want to use.
Do you plan on having? I'm kind of taking Zombie's Hedgehog question and kind of taking liberty with it. Do you plan on having many more testers in the future of your products?
Yeah, definitely. So we will, and in the futures. But so I personally haven't expect so there's more people to pay attention to us at such a short time. So
Yeah,
after
yeah,
I think the Edge of Tech released his first videos,
yep.
there's a lot of people and focused on our product, and so we don't actually so little like beyond our expectations so far. So, but in the future, we don't have enough people to handle the maybe help the testers at this time. So, but in the futures, after the more people can help themselves, or after we released more tutorials, training stuff, and people can work them on their own. So we definitely will invite more testers to involved in this, this project. So
Fantastic.
this it kind of like maybe community build project. Also in the futures, we will release maybe all the testers and list their give the credit to their contributions, like include you. So you like make a lot of such comments and suggestions on our machines. We will credit that part to our official website.
Oh, I don't need any credit. I like a better product. So,
Yeah.
we've got another question though from Darth Gallum. Always looking for options for my school's lab. Is the X1 easy to use and maintain? And I mean, you can answer this question at length, but if I'm not mistaken, that's the whole idea, is that it is easy for someone like me to use and to maintain, correct?
Yeah, all the maybe consumable part is pretty easy to get replaced or get maintained or get changed. So you don't need to maybe use the screwdriver. You just need the maybe screwdrivers to exchange the nozzle, hot end, that kind of things. And also just a bad film, so there's quite easy to change the film as well. But for the rest of part, if something wrong or something it's get failures to get broken, probably we will do the replacement and for that kind of reason. Yeah. But we just want to maybe bring the best user experiences in the user from the user aspect. So if something really wrong, so we don't want people to spend a lot of time to fix that or tinker it. So just send a replacement for. So that's the best way for both for us to get maybe the printer back to work.
So Krusty asks, are there any plans to open source, if you will, sizes and specifications for the third-party add-ons like nozzles, etc.?
I think for the nozzles and probably yeah, it depends on the parts. Actually, so a lot of things get some like the cloud or some LiDAR information contain some like maybe data privacy issues. We want to maybe get the best maybe privacy like the security levels on these printers. We don't know. We don't want to share the people's information to some other parties. So we will like the open source for sure, but that's only for the maybe the feel like the project is related from the maybe the 30 real 30 or super slicer or process slicer on that part. Yeah, but
All right.
it just depends. We will release more information on that open source, which part is going to be open source and which part is going to not to be.
Fair enough.
But for the replacement part, like nozzle and hot end, we're probably going to do ourselves.
That makes sense. I mean, if only because you're trying to make a product that works, and to know that it works, all those critical components in many ways you've got to be able to control, because otherwise you end up with a variable that you can't control for something so critical. I understand that as a person who, I mean, I like I said, I just like it when things work. I don't want to tinker. I don't want to mess. I don't want to I want to press a button and go. So I understand that approach. Polymaker asks another question. Was there any discussion in your team as to whether or not you should have a heated chamber? Does that mean, since you don't have one, does that mean you only target low temperature material users?
Yeah, that's a good question. So actually, so after we tested, I think our original design think about the heated chambers, but like finally it turned out to be get maybe slight improvement with some kind of special materials. I think like our printers can easily handle the carbon fibers and ABS, high temperature ABS. There's no issue with that. I think so far so good. If there are some, if we added maybe a heated chambers first, like make the entire system more complicated, and the usage or maybe the thermal isolation is gonna be definitely cost more. So at that time, so we think just like at that price range and based on the performance and balance, I think the enclosure chamber with only the cooling features is really needed. If we maybe reach to the heat batch to the 100 degrees with carbon fiber printings, our maybe I think the only thing we need is cooling down the internal maybe chamber temperature down. So to make sure so everything is not going too hot.
Another question from Krusty asking if you had plans on a software API to allow developers to write plugins. Is that something that you've considered or not?
Yeah, it's kind of maybe open source project as
right.
we
That's what I
mentioned before.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in the future, we will maybe probably by the late this year's, maybe Q3 on this year's, we will open source our maybe motion control part for the software for the slicers and how it's going to build. But the thing is how to match up the data with API or how to maybe to give maybe a ways for the developers to working on themselves. We're still working on that part. And we will release more details on how.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like when you know, as we're talking about things that you're thinking about, Fix'em Dude had asked, do you have a list of elements you're planning on using or thinking of using in future printers already? Have you got them lined up, or are you just still concentrating on this?
At this time, so we're still focused on this on X1s to make sure so everything is because this is our first product. We need to get to make sure so yeah it performs well. Also, you know, so the first prototypes always has some. Later on, so we will definitely have experience on building 3D printers, and definitely so there's gonna be more user-friendly printers gonna be come out. But at this time, so we definitely need to spend more time to finalize the maybe X1 to make sure it's truly user-friendly.
Okay. Do you have any extra color options planned, or the ability to print parts to change the colors for a little bit of customization?
So like who doesn't like our colors at this time?
Dude, I love the colors. I'm neutral. I like gray. I like black. I like white. I don't like. Honestly, it took a lot for me to get used to the orange, but Blaze orange is my favorite orange, so I didn't mind that.
Got it.
Well, I mean, you know, but that from what I can tell, like this, it seems less like a DIY project and more like a polished product that you'd buy in a store. That is my. That is what it looks like to me. That's what it feels like to me. You know, it doesn't look like it's begging to be modded. And I don't. That doesn't bother me. It just I'm fine with that. But yeah,
later on, so I will make a vote on the maybe some of our maybe social media groups and like vote your best colors on these printers. Yeah. later on, if a lot of people don't like our colors, we're definitely gonna change it.
I think no. Don't change it. Don't change it. This is perfect. Do not.
I'll keep this version on.
Don't go to like hot pink for version 2. I'm like, why? No. Always give me. Let me put it this way: my smartphones, they're always like black. Like no, I just don't. I'm huge into neutral colors. So like, yeah, I as someone who can understand that some people want a mod, slap a sticker on it. There, you're done. Print a little thing to put around the LCD screen. I don't know, but it was a question. It's a valid question. And Polymaker, and we're going to be testing the raid over to MakerDeck soon. I mean, I don't want to be keeping you too long though, Key, because I know we've been running long.
No worries.
Okay. We'll take one more question here, and then we'll do the raid over to MakerDeck, and we'll open the audio channel on MakerDeck. It'll be just give us a couple minutes for us to do it after the raid. I'll jump into the MakerDeck dashboard, start streaming my Bambu Lab X1 Carbon into MakerDeck, and my audio channel with Key and myself will be up there, but nobody else's. Theoretically, that'll work just fine. That's the way it had been working before. So I tested it yesterday, and it seemed to work. Famous last words. So this is going to be the last question before we raid over to MakerDeck and continue the Q&A briefly with Key from Bambu Lab. Was the X1 extrusion system designed to handle flexible filament? Maybe not with the same speed, but better than a regular printer. So flexible, I'd assume like a TPU?
Yeah, I have the same questions, like so flexible materials, like maybe different material type or nylons or PC. Definitely we handle that, and also the TPUs is included. Also in the future we'll release maybe, I think from the data, our maybe technical data sheet on our official website, so there's more descriptions on that part.
All right, I'm going to round out. There's a few teachers. It kind of surprises me how many teachers have come in and started following that. They use MakerDeck in their classrooms. Even Jerry Switek, one of them. You've got teachers volunteering, saying, "Hey, if we need to test this machine in a classroom setting, I'd be happy to put it through the paces in my classroom." And Jerry would be the right guy.
Oh, thanks, Jerry.
There are many. Darth Gallum, I'm still getting to know everybody's names, and that they are educators as well. So if I'm missing anybody's, background, I apologize. It's a lot to balance. But for sure, there are a lot of educators who are interested in this, if only because students, as noted in chat earlier, can be very rough, for the lack of a better word, with their
this is like this. Yeah, I want to explain to the more details, because like the most of 3D printing class offerings from the School of Mechanical Engineering department. It's not true actually. So in the future, like we want to all the schools to open the 3D printing course in their R majors, there maybe architecture majors, or for those non-tech people can use our 3D printers in the field. Because like at this time, most people learn their 3D printing just from the engineering school of engineering, like more like the engineering project to learn to do, but it's not quite true.
Fair
in the
enough.
future, we'll make that change.
All right. That's good to know. We're going to start the raid. It's going to take a little bit for everything to stack up on Twitch. Here's what's going to happen. Key, stay on with me on our call. Everyone, we're going to see you over on MakerDeck, which I assume you're watching anyway. Turn up the volume. I'll get everything adjusted. Hopefully, the call will continue over there just like we did last week with David Randolph. So we're going to be doing that. We're raiding into MakerDeck. Thank you for watching MakerDeck. Thank you for tuning in, at least for this part of the Q&A. We're going to try to continue over there. So, Key, hang on. I think that worked. Give me a second. All right, now it's hosting MakerDeck. That's great. 1 second, Key.